Shit, is anyone else nervous?
Yeah, I'll take a few seconds to kick over anyway, won't I?
Yeah, you'll be live now.
Oh, in faces.
Yeah, I'll just leave it free like that as well.
Oh, and then also your chat is.
Yeah, I'll just put that in now.
You're live!
Cool, so we are now live over on the YouTube stream. So if anyone's got any questions, feel free to dive into them. First, thanks to everyone who's tuning into tonight's session. I will leave in the description box the donation link to the NHS Trust Fund. So if anyone can leave even like 50p, a pound, whatever it is, we're massively grateful to anyone who can make any contribution to that. I know a lot of people probably still whittling in from being outside and doing the NHS clap anyway. But tonight I'm joined by these two absolute beauties. We've got Mr. Ryan Terry, strong touch there, and Mr. Elliot Burton as well.
What's going on, guys?
So I've got some questions first that I've cherry picked, but I won't dive into them too quickly because I was waiting for people to still whittle into the live, and people are coming into it now. And then what I'll do, I'll go through and some of the questions from the live and we'll sift through as well. But what I'll start with first is I've kind of put together a short, quick fire round of questions, like really short ones. It's like one or the other. So if Ryan, I'll ask for each question one at a time. If Ryan, you go first, and Elliot, you answer straight after, then we'll just go like that. So that's like
that gives him an upper hand there because he's got a lot.
So first one, boobs or bum?
Bum.
Yeah, I agree with that one. What came first, chicken or the egg?
Chicken.
Your nickname, if you've ever had one?
Ryan the Lion.
You fucking made that up, haven't you?
Yeah.
Elzo when I was about 5.
Elzo?
Elzo.
Where's that come from?
I don't know, just people used to call me Elzo.
Elzo. Gangster.
Pretty gangster, yeah.
Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings?
Neither.
What?
I'm older than 18.
Harry Potter. Harry Potter.
Arnold or Stallone?
Oh, Stallone. I'm a Rocky fan.
Really?
Arnold.
Yeah, I'd go Arnold.
No.
Have you watched Money Heist?
Not yet.
Watching it at the moment.
Okay. Are you watching it English or Spanish?
English. Well, dubbed. It's dubbed over.
Yeah, that's what I've done, mate. Mate, you need to watch it. It's sick, you know. It's one
So
of the
good.
things on Netflix.
So good.
So you get so much hate though if you watch it in English. Like people are messaging me like loads of fucking hate stuff because I've been watching it in English.
Well, it's great.
Okay, what have we got next? Big Mac or footlong?
Big Mac.
Big Mac.
Yeah, I'll settle for that. Okay, post number 2. Do you wipe sitting down or standing up?
I'm sat down.
Really?
Is that?
What you
post number 2. Do you wipe sitting down or standing up?
Sitting down.
I go standing up.
You're a weirdo, Ben. Just say.
What?
I feel like that's normal.
That's not normal. That's not.
What?
Like, how can you get your hand behind the fucking toilet when you're sitting on it?
We're all not as massive as you see, so we can.
Yeah, that's the issue.
Like, I don't understand how you can maneuver and get far enough behind to then go round and wipe. Like, you need to get some fucking balance and stability in there and be able to create some power.
No, mate, you're overthinking it.
Okay, Magnums, how do you eat them?
What's that? Sorry, you broke up then.
Magnums, as in the chocolate Magnums, not the condoms. How do you eat them?
I don't, because I'm always on a diet.
Oh, fuck off.
He's not lying though, is he?
Go on, I want to know, Elliot. How do you eat them?
And then eat the ice cream.
Do you eat all the chocolate first?
Yeah.
See, I just chew through it. I chomp through mine.
Yeah, you've got to have chocolate first, break it off, and then.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the way you go with milk people. Okay, this one, if you've got your phone on you, it's going to be controversial for one of you, I feel. Show us the last image on your phone.
Oh God. In fact, this is bad actually. So this is my father-in-law as a woman.
Why?
It's on an app where they've changed him into a woman. That's bad.
Mine's sending a text to the boy saying I'm in the lobby waiting for the Warzone gang.
I don't know where mine is. Oh, mine was a fucking bottle of rum.
Oh, nice.
I bought it as a present for Lucy because it made me feel better, but I was really me who wanted it, so I've got 2 birds, 1 stone. Right, we'll dive, now we've got through some of the quick fire ones, we'll dive into the actual Q&A itself. So, one of the first questions we've had is, what has been the well, we kind of briefly discussed this before, what has been the hardest thing for you about training at home? I'm gonna go Ryan first.
So the hardest thing for me, yeah, like I said, we just touched on before that, was not having the full equipment that I need, and having to adapt to like my old school training. So when I first started training before I went to a gym, this was the type of training you had to do from home: sit-ups, press-ups, own body weight, plyometric kind of training. Whereas over the years, you got used to obviously a gym environment and a variety of equipment. So going back to that way of training for me was quite difficult.
Yeah, I'd say for me, the hardest thing has been I've got quite a small flat, so trying to transition from training in the gym with weights to sort of doing similar workouts at home was quite challenging. Like doing workouts in my bedroom next to my bed, it's just like not particularly motivating. So I did struggle with that, and I actually took about a week off training altogether to sort of readjust what I wanted to achieve during this time. And now I'm sort of doing circuits and running and sort of focusing on things that I can whilst I haven't got access to the gym. So that's what's working for me now.
Yeah, the hardest thing for me has been motivation. Like I hate training at home. Like I'm not even gonna try and like wrap it up. I hate training at home. Like I just find it difficult to like do everything from the same place, like work, train, eat, shit, sleep.
But to be honest though, that seems the general census across the board. Like even when we spoke at first, Elliot, do you remember a few weeks back, and like you were saying, adjusting to training was just trying to get motivated in your home gym or home is quite difficult. And that's what everyone I speak to, that seems to be the same thing.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is like people try and put it down to time. Like at the moment, everyone's got the same 24 hours in a day because most people are doing nothing and are living at home. So to say that, well, now everyone's got time to do it, it should be easy. I don't think you can just attribute it to time. Like if it was a time issue, then everyone will be training now, but people are still struggling, I think, to train at home. So it's a lot more to do with like motivation. I feel that is what people are struggling with, especially because people are limited to maybe what kit and stuff they have and really making progress and worrying about other things as well.
Yeah.
But even for me, like the gym that's like right at the bottom of my building, I even when like before coronavirus hit and everything, I would sometimes struggle with motivation to go to that gym because it's so close to my flat. Like I've always had a bit of an association with like, you know, traveling to the gym. And when I get there, kind of I made the effort to get there, I'm gonna like smash my session. Whereas if it's too easy, it's too close, sometimes, you know, you struggle to sort of lock in mentally. So I've definitely found that with the coronavirus stuff.
So that was when I built this house, that was one of the reasons everyone said, because the gym I built is part of the house, but you can't access it from the house. You have to go out. And I know it's a bit different because it is still a part of the house, but you have to go out and access it from a different door. And the reason everyone was saying, why not just put it into the dining room, put a door in, you can walk straight through your kitchen into the gym. I says, but for me, in the morning because it was only designed, my gym, for morning cardio and for when I'm on prep, doing my morning routine, which is abs and cardio.
Yeah.
I wanted to feel as though I was leaving the house and going to work, and that was my work. So that was the reason I did it. Everyone's like, you'll regret doing that. But for me, that has been a big plus, having to go out and open it, unlock the gym up from a different area. And obviously mentally that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think people have been saying like people like walk quite far to the gym and stuff, and that's like people's time to get away and break off their social life or the work life or whatever it is to then go and keep accountable to something. Because then when you walk into that place, headphones on, ready to lift, and you can't go back then because it's not like you're just walking around the corner and going home, I suppose. Getting back into the PlayStation. Okay, I know both of you guys are doing this, and obviously someone else has picked up on it as well. What have you found? Oh, sorry. How have you found living with your partners 24/7?
Go on, Elliot.
Be careful with this one.
If I'm honest, it's actually been like very good. It's the first time we've actually spent this much time together. It's been really good. I think we have like, we do the same thing, but obviously separately. So we have a lot of time in the day where I'm working on my own stuff and she's working on her stuff, or more like I'm playing Warzone and she's playing on The Sims. And you know, that separate kind of makes for a better environment. But it's been really good. Like, it's actually going to be a bit strange when she does leave, because she doesn't live here. So yeah, it's been fine for us, to be fair.
How long have you been together now? How long have you been in lockdown together?
6 or 7 weeks, I think.
Okay, that's a good test then. It's a good test.
Yeah. No, it has definitely been a test, but it's been good, to be fair. It's been good.
I think for me, before all this happened, Amy quit her job when we moved to America a few years back. She came over and she had to work for me because she couldn't work in America. So we were kind of together quite a lot, inseparable really, in that year. So we learned to live with each other. We learned over there how to give each other space, know when to leave each other alone and stuff like that, and have our own time. So although she's not allowed to see her family or anything like that at the minute, and same for me, we just, she works from home. Like, I'm sat in her office at the minute. So she's is quite busy in the day, and I'm finding things to do. She's finding things for me to do around the house. So I've got enough jobs to crack on with. So we're passing ships, even though we live in the same house, until 5 o'clock in the evening. We're passing ships in the day. So not a lot has changed, to be honest, other than obviously me traveling. Yeah, it's been fine.
I think that's the big thing, which I was thinking about someone the other day, is learning to try and make that space, or learn to have your own time sometimes, because I think it is still needed. Like, I'll still sometimes go for a walk on my own and have that space. And sometimes when I'm doing it, I'll leave my headphones and I'll ring people. Like, I'll sometimes like ring Elliot and he's probably like, fuck's sake, Ben's on his walk again. Again. But I'll just take that time sometimes, and Lucy will say no because she doesn't want to do it and she wants to do her own thing. And I think that's important, to be able to learn when to say no to the other half, because you need to still have like some of your time to do your own shit, because you're still your own person as well.
Yeah, I think that's what we didn't realize it until late on in that year when we was in America, and it was only when we kind of we found we were annoying each other at the littlest things, and it's because we'd been on top of each other. And it was only when we actually sat down and said, look, it's unhealthy, this type of relationship, to be this full on. So when we moved back, that was the deal, that obviously we still make time for our own social friends or whatnot, our own families, and have our own time. And if we're annoying each other, we just say it. We just normally annoying her.
One of the other questions we had is from a lovely lady who has said, how do you and generally guys feel about more and more women lifting at the gym?
Elliot?
I think it's great. I mean, I think obviously a lot of girls are worried about, you know, the sort of stigma attached with, you know, lifting weights, you know, you're going to get bulky or whatever. And I think now more than ever, there's more and more information, you know, the likes of Lucy and others sort of showcasing the fact that actually, you know, it's, you know, a vital part of your training and something not to be avoided. I think it's great. I think more and more girls and women should be doing that. Yeah, I think it's really good. I think it's great.
Yeah, and for me as well, I think it's amazing to see, because I've come from a very old school bodybuilding way, like, and the first gym I ever trained in, and even the gym I'm training now, initially was all male, very hardcore, proper bodybuilding, quite that stigma you attract around bodybuilding. But over the years, it's been good to see. I've been training at that gym for 11 years now. And over that years, I would say it's probably 60% women now, 40% men. So you can see the change. And it's nice to see that women are more knowledgeable on the fact that to lift weights is not going to make you massive overnight and stuff, and to tone
Yeah.
up health is not about just running on a treadmill. And they're becoming more educated, and if anything, they're
Yeah.
more educated than some of us.
Yeah, I mean that's the key thing that's come of it, that there is more female educators out there, because I think obviously the fitness industry always has been very, very male dominated, and even if you look around at PTs and gyms, the majority of them are going to be guys. I think one of the misconceptions is that females aren't as knowledgeable as males when it comes to lifting. I think one thing, especially with like male PTs, is like that they can play on is that if they're big, you might know what you're talking about. Whereas a female doesn't have that luxury sometimes. So I think the thing for me is like it massively hypes me just as much as when I hit lifts, as when like I walk in the gym and seeing a female setting a heavy hip thrust up or a heavy squat, and like, fucking go on. Like it's
100%.
It's good to see, rather than them just running on treadmills and running on cardio. And I know for a lot of females, it's probably quite daunting to walk into a gym or walk into gyms like you were explaining them, Ryan, where it is a little bit more hardcore and there's a bit of male ego there. It's hard for females to walk into that, but I think if more and more them know that males are rooting for them to do that kind of thing, I think it'll just be easier for them in the future to go into gyms and be able to do that.
But even if you're looking, also just touching on that, even if you're looking like my sport, like men's physique, like bodybuilding, it was very male orientated. There was no really female. There was a bit of women bodybuilding, but it was always in the background. Whereas if you look now in the forefront, each year they get more and more praise, more and more coverage. The prize money's equaling the men now, and the amount of bikini girls and the pull they have into the Olympia, like the crowds, is phenomenal. So it only benefits the industry by having more people involved. So I'm all for it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, 100%. I think I was speaking to someone on a podcast about the other day, the only kind of slight negative that sometimes, the only slight negative that comes with it sometimes is people who put a bad spin on it. So especially with like social media and influencers and stuff, is the girls who are just almost there creating OnlyFans pages on Instagram and claiming like PTs and fitness, and I feel like that for females often puts like a bad spin on it for them, because the scene is an object rather than someone who's really there to educate. So I think that's the only bad thing sometimes of it.
Yeah, but you're saying that though, but men are doing that only fans page now. I've been offered a few.
Mate, seen yours the other day.
Times are hard in this pandemic.
Okay, let's have a look at all the questions you've had. So, there's been a question from Elton. It's not Elton John, by the way. Hey, how do you get rid of serious unhealthy habits which, let's say, your friend or friends introduced or peer pressured you into doing a while ago? So I think it's more about like building healthy habits and getting rid of unhealthy habits. If you want to dive into that one first, Elliot.
I think the first thing when it comes to a bad habit is to not try and do too much at once in terms of fixing it. I think for all of us, whether it's we're in a bad routine or we're eating poorly, not training, we then go, okay, I'm going to train 7 days a week. I'm going to eat immaculately, no sugar, nothing, and then you do that for a week and then bounce back even harder than you did the first time. I think it's really important that you take it each step at a time. You just try and manage your expectations to begin with. So if it's that you're eating too much sugar or crap food, just say to yourself, okay, if I'm eating like 2 chocolate bars a day, I'm going to try and eat 1 chocolate bar a day, and then cut back from there rather than completely wiping that thing out. I think that's probably the most important thing, in my opinion, in regards to being able to sustain the change and create a new healthier habit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%. Anything like that is you obviously look at a long-term goal. You set a long-term goal to be obviously in a new habit, a fresh habit, but then you start looking at short-term goals in order to get to that. And like you say, Elliot, it's just making small increments. In order to get it. So what Elliot said is absolutely perfect, really. To elaborate on that, really.
I think it's difficult at the moment, isn't it? Because I know it's sometimes a little bit different for us, because we've maybe been used to kind of a similar routine at the moment where we do spend a lot of time at home or a bit of time traveling. But for a lot of other people who have maybe been in a kind of 9 to 5 job for the last 5 or 10 years, the kind of life's just been flipped upside down. And now those habits that used to be subconscious are taken away from them, and they're not getting up at the same time. They're not on the same train. They're not seeing the same faces. They're not eating at the same places. So things are a lot different for those people, and things that used to be, I suppose, kind of subconscious habits, and now they're having to rebuild those. And I suppose the best way to do that is just by creating new routines your day, by having new cues. And I think unless you have something to remind yourself, whether it's writing it down or whether it's putting it as an alarm on your phone or whatever it is, like sometimes when I was struggling with sleep at one point, so what I used to do is, instead of having a morning alarm, I used to have like an evening alarm, which reminded me to go to bed at 10, fuck my phone off, and then just read, because that was my cue then to go to bed. And as a reward from that, I'd sleep better and get up at a better time as well. So I think having those kind of like cues and rewards sometimes are what drives those habits home, which sometimes that we're not too used to. So look, what else we've got? Okay, we've got one from Tasha. When you are trying to do a severe cut, how to resist temptation to cave in? What is it you think of to keep the focus? Do you want to start with that one, Ryan?
Yeah, so for me, obviously, when you're dieting for a show or anything like that, or if you're dieting just in general, always set yourself an end goal, an end target. So there has to be a date in mind, because that way you're accountable for every day. And think about why you're doing it. So set the reasons why you want to do it. If it's self-confidence, if it's stepping on stage, for instance, everything that means enough for you to not fall off track. For me, if ever I'm really, really craving and I'm really down on my diet, I'll always go towards like a green apple, just one green apple, because that can suppress, obviously, sugar cravings, your appetite, your sugar, feed your cravings. So have that, wait 15, 20 minutes, and it should settle them cravings. But for me, if you're prepping for a show, you can't do that. You can't really start adding calories and you're nearly because of that. But I look back on people who I'm going up against. So I look at like Raymond Edmonds, Brandon Hendrickson, Jeremy Wendy, all the big names, thinking, will they be cheating on their diet? Will they be feeling this low or whatever? And that normally brings me around, because I'm a very competitive person. So that fires me up enough to get back on track, put my blinkers on and get back on the saddle.
Elliot?
I think obviously I don't personally compete, so it's a lot different to how I would have experienced things, because there's not as much pressure on me getting ready for a trip to Ibiza as there is on Ryan prepping for a competition. So for me, if I feel like I'm getting really bad cravings, then what I try and do is implement something small. Now obviously it made me laugh that Ryan's like would go to an apple. For me it would be like I'll get a chocolate bar or whatever is on my mind, and I'll have that thing, and then just get straight back on what I was doing already. At the end of the day, if it's like one thing you're eating, or even a meal, in the grand scheme of things, it's not going to make a huge difference. What's important is that you're able to get back on track as quickly as possible and continue what you're doing. I think that's
100%. I mean, I've come from like both perspectives. Like I competed like a couple of years ago, so I know where Ryan's coming from, because I remember when I used to hate doing some things and doing morning cardio and having those temptations. And my main thing was like, well, do I want to step on stage feeling like that, having that regret of, well, that one thing could have made a difference. So you want to have done everything possible not to have that kind of niggly feeling in the back of your head, knowing that on that day I could have done this and that. But at the same time, for people who are maybe a little bit more lifestyle based, I think with resisting temptation, sometimes it's just as good to have that temptation maybe built into your diet if you're that type of person who likes to have balance, because then instead of setting those boundaries of well, I can't have this, sometimes that that barrier makes you want it even more and crave it more. So if you take that barrier away, that mental barrier, then you can have it anyway, and then you haven't failed it and you don't feel that feeling of guilt. So I think sometimes that's just the way to play around it. It's like, for example, when your mum probably said to you when you were younger, there was that weird kid who lived down the road who shoved crayons up his arse. Don't go and play with him because he's dead weird. Probably the first thing that you went and did was played with that kid down the road. Hopefully you didn't put crayons up your bum as well. But it's that thing of when you when you go, just don't go and try it tonight, Ryan, just because. It's that thing of when we get told not to do something that we do it anyway. So I think that sometimes it's important to put those. If there's something that you enjoy having, then why not have it in your diet? If it's for a lifestyle balance and to create more from that. And I think at the same time, for people who are severely cutting, I think you need to ask yourself why and how severe are you cutting? Because what I tend to find is and get questions about is, well, I'm hitting all my calories, or I'm not hungry enough to have all my calories. And for most of the time is they try and cut the calories down from what even more so what's been set to try and get to the goal even quicker. And then all that leads to is binge eating or more eating down the line because your appetite's higher. So I think there's a lot of things that go into that, caving into cravings and stuff, but you just got to assess what your own situation is and how you best deal with things. Because I know for some people like myself, and I know Ryan's probably quite similar to this, is if he has if he's really strict and regimented with it, it's easier to stick to. When you start adding those small sugary things in, it makes you want to cave even more. So there's different types of people.
Yeah, not only that, like I prep for 16 weeks of the year, and in that 16 weeks, I want to forget about all them like sugar cravings and bad. Well, I won't even say bad foods, those foods, because it's not bad food. Food's not bad. So those type of foods. So for 16 weeks, I forget about it and I deal with it better. And if I was to cave, even if it was like a burger, which in the grand scheme of it, Elliot hit the nail on the head, it is absolutely nothing. When you're dieting and you're training 6 days a week, twice a day, it won't even touch the sides. Like that wouldn't even hurt you. But it's the mental game. It's the mental side of you actually caving in on the diet. So that's the only reason I wouldn't do it. But like I say, for a lifestyle and for a healthier way of doing it, I think Elliot's like approach to it is quite a good responsible way. And it then doesn't create bad habits with food.
Yeah. I think it also depends on which angle you're coming at it from and obviously where your question is. But I thought we might get a question on this, and this is from Harriet. How did you guys become so recognized in the fitness industry, and how did you break through? What would you recommend to someone who is trying to get more recognized on the social media channels for fitness? So Elliot, do you want to kick that one off first, and then we'll go into it?
Well, I mean, I think the most important thing is, and you might hear a lot of people say it, but it's stay true to yourself. But further on from that, it's focus on your strengths. At the end of the day, you've got to have something which is your strength and what you can push forward. So for me, like when I started in the industry, I wanted to be creative and I wanted to create content which is slightly different to the rest. And that was kind of my thing to begin with. And your thing will evolve. But I think it's really important to kind of know what it is that you want to be known for. You know, you want to have certain, certain things that you're known for. And I think that's really important to understand, rather than just seeing, what Ryan does or what someone else does and trying to mimic that. It's actually having more intent behind the content that you're posting and more reason to it, rather than just like uploading a photo and hoping for the best. So yeah, for me, it's always been about trying to differentiate myself, but also, seeing what other people do, seeing what works. You've got to be smart about it. You can work really hard in anything, but if you're not working smart, you might not get there. So I think, it's a combination of having your own thing, having your own vision and goals, and also just sort of, seeing what other people do and seeing how you can kind of create that in your own way. That's how I've done it.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to sound really old here now. Basically, when I came into the industry, it was over 10 years ago. And for me, it was all about trying to get sponsorship deals and trying to stand out from the rest. So when I first initially started, mine was to try and get on the front cover of magazines, which at the time they were a big thing. Obviously, no one prints magazines anymore, but that was a way of being classed as more sellable to sponsors and whatnot, and you had a bit more credibility to your name. And the same as competing, the more shows you won, the more titles behind your name, you start to create a profile, and then I started to build off that. So I just started trying to do a lot of expos, things like that, which again are a thing of the past. But I'm work better more face to face, like more personable. So I went around a lot of gyms. Even saw you a few times in Liverpool, Ben, in the day. But yeah, and that's how I grew. And then with social media, I was very fortunate that it grew alongside me with my profile. And again, like Elliot says, it's just trying to adapt and trying to work to your best, because I feel like over the years, I kind of lost myself a bit, because I started trying to go down the YouTube route and trying to educate people, or trying to be like a lifestyler. Whereas that isn't me. I'm a competitor. I love to train. I love to compete, and that's how I built my following. So I went back into my lane and I focused on, like Elliot says, my strengths. And that's how I basically did it. It's focusing on the competing side and trying to grow my profile that way.
Yeah, it's interesting that you should say that, because me and Elliot have had a similar conversation before in regards to like content creation. It's relevant to what you just mentioned then, is I think is enjoying the type of content that you're creating. I think once you start to become like a servant to the system is when you stop enjoying stuff as much. And I think at the same time, like you can almost mimic other people to a certain degree, but then I think it's got to be a balance between getting inspiration from someone, but then you can be a complete copycat because it's obvious, but you can still take inspiration and use that in your own way. Like I'm still learning a lot of stuff as I go, and I'm still trying to build my profiles as I move through. But I know you two guys have done it very successfully at the moment, and obviously for you, Ryan, like from my point of view, I've been following you for years, and I think when at that point in the industry where you kind of started to took off, I think it was because at the time there's a lot of hardcore bodybuilders who were like at the forefront of stuff, and I think you were kind of the real first guy who was relatable to a lot of other people, and it wasn't this like really hard exterior who could be approachable to, and I think that was what, for me anyway, that's what attracted me to following yourself. And I think obviously from external point of view, from looking at Elliot's kind of stuff, it's because it's modern, clean cut, it's easy to digest, and there's a bit of humor in there as well. And again, everyone has their different areas, and I think if you stick to your niche and what your strengths are, like Elliot was saying at the start, then you'll do well from it. I think what I found personally when I first started is everything can be quite overwhelming, and you're trying to like, oh, I've seen something, so I'll try that, and then I'll try this, which obviously like with fitness, it's like a toolbox, isn't it? You're trying to figure things out that work for you. But I think if you do, like they say, if you have too many chefs, it spoils the soup as well.
I think you're so right in that though, because that is what that's what I did. I'd say probably 2 years ago, I tried to go into something I didn't feel comfortable doing, like the lifestyle side of it, trying to just adapt and trying to seeing like a lot to do with Gymshark, actually, seeing how Gymshark model, a lot of them like are YouTubers and have a similar kind of like approach to YouTube and social media as a whole, whereas I'm very different to that. But I was trying to adapt to it. I just fell off because I lost my confidence in what I was doing. I've just back and actually done nothing. So we made a plan. It was about 3 weeks ago actually. So it was very, very recent. That going back to like what I feel more comfortable doing, which is more like the bodybuilding. I'm still going to document it. I'm still going to do a lot of social media, but just focus more on that for me.
Cool. What's your plans moving forward, Elliot? Because I know you're doing a lot more other stuff that you enjoy at the moment, which is the fashion stuff as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there's just a few elements that I want to ensure that I'm including in my brand, like fashion stuff as you mentioned, and the lifestyle stuff. But it is also really important to me to have the fitness stuff there. I think I've definitely gone through moments where I'm like, oh, some of the stuff that I'm posting isn't performing how I want it to. I'm just going to switch over, and then you go, right, I'm just doing this or I'm just doing that. I think it's really important that you have that self-belief to know that even in the times where it's not going 100%, that it's good content and it's what you want to be posting, because after a while then people will pick up on that, and I think it's pretty important. But moving forwards, I'm just trying to build my brand out and sort of incorporate as many areas of my life that I want to be incorporating as possible. So fashion is a massive one for me. I think I really enjoy that side of things. Like I think it's just quite a cool element to my brand, and I enjoy doing it. So that's kind of what I'm focused on.
Yeah, I think moving forward, just to end that one, is I think if you can create content which genuinely helps other people, and whether that's like to motivate, to inspire, education, or even to give someone a laugh, I think that is like something really good to focus on as a forefront. But on that kind of similar topic, Fliss has asked, I'll let you go first for this one, Elliot. How long does it take for you to prepare the content that you upload?
It depends really. I think on Instagram, the workout videos, they're pretty systematic. So once you've figured out how you do them, you have a style, you know how you like it, and it's quite easy. I used to use a different software to edit. So it used to take me about 2.5 hours to do my Instagram videos, but now it takes me about 30 minutes. YouTube takes a while. I think sometimes I could do a YouTube video in like, film it and edit it in one day. Sometimes it takes me a full week. It really does vary. I think having clarity before you start the content is really important. If you try and start it with half an idea, you'll end up dragging it out for so long. You kind of change your mind on what you want to do with it. So it really does vary. Sorry, it's not a very specific answer, but I think, yeah, it completely depends on what you're doing.
Right.
Don't come on to me with that. So for me, obviously, content. I've got Craig, who's my content creator. So we try to work we started to implement 2 weeks ahead. So we start trying to film everything 2 weeks ahead. So then we've got enough content to last us for that 2 weeks. Elliot, that's one thing we've came across, is if we've gone into certain projects a bit loosely, and trying to make up as we've gone along, and then you literally just So I think that's a great point, that before you start your content, it's very important to have it all planned out and know exactly what you want from each video. But we can normally turn stuff around in a day, 2 days. But again, it all depends on the project. It depends on, like, obviously the edit and then what you're trying to get across, and if it's a series. When I start my Olympia prep, again, that takes probably like a week for the YouTube video, because there's so many different elements to the video.
Yeah.
I suppose it depends on your style as well, isn't it? Like you've got people like me and I were talking the other day, like Matt does fitness, who's like really just off the cuff and it probably doesn't take as long to do. But then again, you're creating like those vlogs for the Olympia prep, which is a lot more cinematic, then I can imagine it probably takes a lot longer. So jumping over to one of the Instagram questions, if you have any regrets from your current fitness career?
Oh, it's a deep one, that is, for me. Dan, how long are we on this for? For me, there's two things. One is the way I trained when I was a bit younger. I regret it in a lot of ways, and then I don't in a lot of ways, because it got me to where I am now. But I trained like with an ego. I used to train with big bodybuilders, super heavyweights, over 130 kg, big guys, and trying to push their type of weight, I incurred so many injuries, like slip discs in my back, obviously 2 hip surgeries, quite a lot. So I didn't need to train like that in order to get the physique I wanted. I can be I train a lot smarter now, and I can train without injuries. So that's something I wished I'd have done differently. And the only regret in competing, and this is one I've never admitted actually, is probably moving to America for that 2017 Olympia. So that's when a lot of things changed for me, because I was second in the world at the time. I was Arnold Classic champion, and everything up until that point was I was winning every show, and I was on an uphill slope. But when that happened, I naively and stupidly really went over to America 2 days before my Olympia prep. I didn't have a gym to train out, didn't have nowhere to live, didn't have any transport. Me and Amy just went over with a suitcase each, and didn't really think about how the prep would affect me in a different country, the Florida heat and how prepping. So it was a very difficult prep, and it showed on stage. I dropped from 2nd to 6th, and I lost a lot of confidence, and mass amounts of confidence. I didn't really realize up until just recently really how much it affected me. I know people still think, wow, it's 6th in the world, but it was a huge dint for me. And that's one of my biggest regrets is not, bodybuilding is all about consistency. And for me to upheaval my whole life, to take my wife over to America and us try and start fresh 12 weeks out from the Olympia was probably not the best idea.
I think it's good to show like the impact that like stress can have on your body and your overall mindset as well.
The thing was, not making excuses, but 2 weeks before that Olympia, Hurricane Irma hit, and we were in Miami. We had a Category 5 hurricane coming straight at us, and we had to evacuate. And it was the strangest feeling, or strangest feeling it, being in that, because everyone was just chaotic. All the airports were blocked. No one was flying out. All the highways were blocked, and people were looting supermarkets. And it all happened within 3 or 4 hours. We drove to the gym one day. Everyone was saying a hurricane's coming. And as we left the gym an hour and a half later, you could see people looting. It was just surreal. So we just literally packed. I had tins of tuna in my suitcase. I had like one pair of boxes. I just had the most random stuff because me and Amy were just throwing stuff in there. And I had a punnet of blueberries, random in my suitcase. But we just got out there. We hired a car and we drove 4 hours to Orlando because that was the only airport still open. And we managed to get out of there. And it was just a very, very crazy time. 2 or 10 days before stepping on the biggest stage in the world. So that was a huge regret of mine, and the knock-on effect has been huge.
Sounds like the purge.
Yeah, it wasn't great. Yeah.
And Elliot?
I think for me was just nutrition. I literally ate what I wanted, and for the first 5 years of training, I think first 4 or 5 years of training, I pretty much ate whatever I wanted. I didn't even think about nutrition, just because none of my friends did. It was the ones with good genetics still looked good, and the ones that didn't. And that was kind of how it was. And yeah, I wish that I had actually paid more attention to my nutrition, because I spent so much time researching training. Like I would spend hours and hours looking at the training specifically, looking for those exercises which were going to make my muscle insertions somehow different. But if I'd actually focused on my nutrition, I would love to know kind of where my physique would be at now, and where it would have been at when I did start actually implementing that. So that was my main thing, was not focusing on my diet.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing for me was probably I've been over the past couple of years just comparing myself to other people. I mean, that's a big downfall for a lot of people when you don't really know what's going on. I've been through positions where I've been posting on Instagram probably in the best shape I've ever been, but I'm probably the most unhappy that I've ever been, and people don't see that side to it. And that's because you let those comparisons get on your mind and weigh you down too much, instead of just focusing on what you're doing and obviously being the best version of yourself and stuff. So I think that's even where myself, I've had some downfalls with fitness, and where I've been in the most unhappy places of when I've been comparing myself to others.
Don't you think that's one of the downsides to social media though?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it, how much pressure we put on ourselves now.
I think one of the things that that I find with social media is, one of the reasons I think sort of subconsciously that I have always said I want to do my content a bit differently or things a bit differently is so that I can say to myself, well, I'm different, so I'm not comparing myself to someone else. Okay, they're doing that, but I'm in my own sort of lane. I'm doing my own thing. I think that's something that I've done subconsciously because, I don't want to compare myself, because it's so easy to, you see everyone doing similar things. You're like, oh, how they done that, or how do they look like that? But really, you need to focus on your own journey. And it's so difficult with social media. It's definitely one of the hardest things about it. I definitely agree.
It's difficult as a competitor as well, because you know who you're up against. So you can see, especially if you follow on Instagram, you can see and you always put your best picture out, don't you? You're never going to put rubbish. You're always comparing, especially on prep. That's one of the things I learned very early on, was no disrespect to them, was to unfollow anyone I'm up against on the Olympia stage, because for me, I don't want to be focusing on them. I don't want to give them my energy, my time, and I need to focus on myself. And bodybuilding is a very selfish sport, and it has to be. And that's one of the things you have to do, is block everyone else out and focus on being your best.
I think everyone does it, and it's what a lot of people don't realize. It's what I didn't realize it at some point, was that before I probably put a picture on Instagram, I've probably taken the same photo 50 times. I'm probably tense until I've almost got a hernia, and I've stood and tried to get in the best lighting that I can for the last half an hour. So it's perception sometimes of obviously what's going on, and it probably leads us in quite well to our next question, which is how do you deal with online hate or criticism? Because I know you've probably both experienced it at some point over your careers and whilst you've been based online.
So for me, sorry, Elliot, for me, it's personally just not giving them your energy. I think I've been very fortunate over the years that I'll only get the odd person who wants to get a reaction from. But I've been very fortunate that I've got quite a good following. But if ever you get anything like that, is either just delete them off, or just don't give them your time, because the moment you react, if they've got what they wanted out of you, and you're giving them your energy. So for me, it's just let it go. And to be honest, in the early days, it really used to affect me because I didn't understand it, and I was like, why are these people being horrible to me? And I was quite a sensitive guy, but you kind of just harden up to it, don't you? And just let it go over. Let them be keyboard warriors.
Yeah, I'm the same. To be honest, like 99% of the stuff that I get, I won't even see it. I'll just sort of scroll past it. Every now and then someone will say something a bit specific and dark, but then I'll just speak to Annie or speak to someone about it, vent to them, if I get annoyed, and then let it go. It's never worth responding. That's the last thing you ever want to do, is respond, because then, as Ryan said, they've got what they wanted.
Yeah, I think they're the hardest ones though, where people have been quite specific about something and like calling you out on something, which is maybe an insecurity anyway, and that's what kind of rattles your cage a little bit sometimes. Yeah. And I've had that a couple of times. But what I've tended to do, and I learned from someone ages ago, is kind of like sometimes just change the dynamics of it and be a bit weird. So like when someone said to me, which is like, I don't know, like called me out with something or said something quite specific, I'll just say something like, what was the one guy? I come back to one guy like, you have a nice face. And like, he just didn't know what to say back to her. Like, what do you say back? What do you say back to someone who's either one, being a weirdo, or two, nice to you? Like, you can't argue back with someone who's being nice to you.
Yeah.
Like,
the only problem you've got to do with that is make sure you're commenting to the nice comments as well, because if people see that you've only commented to that one guy, you know what I mean, they're getting a response from you, so they're thinking. But I have done on the odd occasion where they really they've taken the time to write a huge comment. You know what? I'll actually respond. But like I said earlier, it's just with kindness. You make it small. So you're like, well, I appreciate your comment, or appreciate everyone has their own opinion, and all the best to you. And I did it actually the other day, and I just said, hope you well. He said something about being in quarantine, and he assumed that I had a camera guy there, but I didn't. It was Amy filming. It was in my garden, and we're together. And I just said something like, I hope you stay, because he was really going at me about that's not a long lens, whatever. I just basically turned around and just said,
a long lens.
Great. Stay safe, whatever. You look after yourself, whatever. And then he actually liked the comments. So I was like, fair enough.
I think that ended though, doesn't it, mate? And I think a lot of the time, like when you probably look at stuff like that, I think if you sometimes have some empathy, like you've got to imagine the person that probably wrote that comment to you. Like maybe it's a guy who's sitting at home in his council house with no one there, and he's no relationship, and he's got no job, and he's not in a good situation. So he's maybe seeing this guy who's good looking in a nice home, got a nice missus. I thought I'd drop that one in there for you. And he's jealous of it. And the one thing that makes him feel better is by attacking that one thing that's kind of made him look at himself, and it makes them feel better. So I think sometimes if you look at it from a point of view like that, then it makes the comment less hurtful. That makes sense.
Yeah. I've had to ban Amy from reading comments. So if anything comes up, she's straight on it. Like, whoa. No.
But I'm like that with Lucy sometimes. Like Lucy gets some terrible ones sometimes, because females are like, this isn't like a gender attack, but females can be obviously quite bitchy. But
you open up a can of worms there now.
Oh,
we didn't say that, guys. Me and Elliot never said that. That was all Ben.
Yeah, I think that's a quite nice way to wrap that one up. We've had another one here from Lulu, which is a positive one. Best thing about waking up and doing what you love to do every single day?
Best thing?
that's actually quite.
No, the best thing. That is the best thing.
Yeah, that is the best thing.
I don't know. I think for me, I used to be a plumber before this, and I'm not ashamed of that. I used to really enjoy working on site with all the lads and stuff, but I knew it's not what I wanted to do, and I was very unhappy. Like, it was okay and it was good pay, but it was never, I knew in my heart of heart, it was never, I didn't want to get up every morning to get on site. I couldn't, you know what I mean? It's not something I really look forward to. So for me, I think doing my hobby as a job and getting paid to do what I love day in, day out, I think that's a huge plus and a huge positive to get up to.
Yeah, definitely. I think like for me, every now and then you're caught in your system, you're doing things, but like literally the last few days, I've had a few moments of just being like, it's actually quite surreal that this is my job and this is what I do. No, I'm extremely grateful to be able to do this as a job. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
I think that's the biggest thing is obviously, isn't it? I think it's kind of part of the question is that like you're happy doing it, because when I used to work for the police before I went into the fitness industry, and it was decent pay and I didn't really enjoy doing it. And then I moved over to coaching, and I was taking like a third of the pay home, but I was a lot happier doing it. And that's what's led to, I suppose, my progression, is because when you're happy doing something, you're more motivated to do it. You're more dedicated to do the things that you're doing. You're willing to go the extra mile with stuff because you actually enjoy what you're doing. Whereas if you're just turning up for a job, you just sometimes, I suppose, just half-ass stuff and you're not as bothered because you're not happy doing it, or you don't have a genuine interest in doing it. So for all of us, I suppose if you're happy doing it, you're going to put a lot more of your time, your effort, and your patience into creating what you're doing, because you actually love creating that thing.
Definitely.
Okay, we'll end with one more, which is come over from Instagram. I'll let you think about this one a little bit. But so I'm sure you have to dig the archives out, because I'm sure you probably got some weird shit. The weirdest thing you've ever seen in the gym?
The weirdest or the most shocking? Or no?
We'll go both, mate. We'll go both. The weirdest or most shocking.
So I'll say one now, which I can remember, and then it's probably not. It's a bit of a gruesome one, this though. But I watched a lad basically take all his fingers off, and the worst thing was that it was a bloodbath, and it was basically on a shoulder press machine, and it was like on a V, and he was basically spotting his training partner, and my training partner Dan, who owned the gym, actually said at the time, don't spot him there, because if he drops that, it's going to crush your fingers. And he didn't listen. 10 minutes later, he literally took the end of his fingers off. And he ran off, because he was only like, I think he was 18, 19. He ran off in hysterics. And I remember just seeing the fingers on the end, the tips on the.
No way. Oh my God.
It was bad. And I remember my training partner ran out the front door. This is bad. And he's got his fingers. He's like, you need him. You need that. Take him to hospital. Because he'd rang his dad to take him to hospital. He's like, what do you do? Do you want him? Do you need him?
Oh my God.
Yeah. So that was pretty gruesome. But going off that, and what the weirdest thing? Have you got anything, you guys?
I haven't got many, apart from some like questionable outfits. I haven't had any like super weird experiences.
I'm
trying to think.
I've got one actually. If my brother is watching this, he'll burst out laughing at this. But me and my brother used to train when we were younger. And I remember we was training quite a hardcore gym as well, but we weren't members there. We'd gone away and we were training there. And all of a sudden, this guy walks in, an older bloke, big gut, grey hair, big, coming out out of his vest. He had, a rug of carpet. Terrible. And he came and did a handstand behind us, but his whole session was about doing handstands on his head. But we were in the mirror and I was spotting him, and he came right in like eye view. And obviously I was sat down, my brother was sat down first, and he's doing these handstands with his legs wide open, and you could literally see everything. And he was,
oh my God.
My brother, he was in absolute stitches, absolutely wetting himself. But I just thought, as if, and you could see like we were laughing at him because you could see in the mirror straight at us, but it came off his head. You could just see his cock and balls and everything. Loved it. He loved it.
Maybe that's the only real thing, the weird thing I've seen is that when I was at a Total Fitness gym, which is obviously quite a mainstream gym, isn't it? It's not like a small unit. Is a girl coming, literally was training in just a pair of high heels and a bikini, like in the gym.
No.
And, I was just like, well, it's just strange. So I think that's the only thing I've seen is question is strange attire. And then obviously the obvious one is, I'm sure you both experienced it, is the screamer. Like you get those fucking people in the gym who come out with the most obscure fucking sounds you've ever heard in your life.
I'll
there was
say.
a guy.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Go
go
on. Go on. No, after you.
There was a guy at the I think it's Flex Fitness in Birmingham, who I think you were there, Ryan. You were training with Obi, and he was huge, like huge, but he was like sweating profusely and grunting the whole way through his session. It was very, very off-putting. That was probably like the weirdest thing I've actually seen in the gym.
No, the one for me was I'll never remember Amy's. I'll always remember Amy's face when I first took her into Good Bodies where I trained, and there was a lot of guys competing at the time. And obviously she's really shy, quite timid. There's all lads around and whatnot. We're starting to train, and we're in the cables, mirror in front of us, and she's just trying it. Next minute, Ryan, what do you think? What do you think? And all these lads are like just literally stripping down. They've got their pants on, obviously taking the trousers down to show the quads and the feathering, the condition. And obviously in a bodybuilding gym, that's just the norm. That happens every day. Like you want to show like the condition off, but Amy's like, you know, all over beetroot red. It's like, and I thought, can you imagine actually walking in here at this time? You've never been here before. And here's me going, yeah, you look well, mate. Like, yeah. But,
You must have some weird ones from when you do like the I don't know what you call them, like the pop-ins or the kind of meet and greets. You must have had some weird ones there where people just come up and ask weird stuff.
Yeah. You know what you always get? You always get one at probably every promo or everything is the guy who really, really smells and he won't leave you alone. Do you know that guy? And he's like, wants a picture, but then wants to sit with you constantly and stand next to you and wants to train with you. And if when you're training, wants to come and lean on you. And I'm too polite when it comes to that. So I just have to say yes to it all the way through that.
Why do I feel like that one was directed at me?
You?
Well, we'll wrap up there, gents. I really appreciate your time. For everyone who's watching, I really appreciate you tuning in and firing the questions over. If you can, as you have been throughout the event, just keep taking photos of some of the screens that you've been watching. Feel free to tag Elliot and Ryan. If the guys and girls who've been tuning in want to see more of you, Elliot, where can they find you?
Elliot B Fit, pretty much everywhere. So that's where you can find me. YouTube, Instagram, not TikTok really, but yeah, pretty much anywhere. Elliot B Fit.
Okay, Ryan, your fans only page.
No, so I'm on Instagram. So Ryan J Terry on Instagram, Ryan Terry on Facebook, Ryan Terry on YouTube.
Cool. Thank you very much, guys. And as always, in the description box, we will leave the NHS Trust Fund link. If you can leave any donation, that will be absolutely fantastic to the event. And we really appreciate all the donations that have been left so far. And I hope you all have a wonderful evening and stay safe.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks, guys.